Your dog does something wrong. You raise your voice. Maybe you grab them by the collar. Maybe you push them away from whatever they just ruined. In that moment, something happens inside their brain that you cannot see, and it does not go away when you stop. Most people who punish their dogs are not cruel. They love them. They are frustrated or scared or repeating what they were taught. But the science on what punishment actually does to a dog's brain is now clear, and it should change the way every owner thinks about training. When you shout at your dog or physically correct them, the first thing that fires is the amygdala. It is the brain's alarm center. Within milliseconds, adrenaline floods the body. Heart rate spikes. Muscles tense. The dog enters a pure survival state, the same system that would activate if a predator appeared. In that state, your dog cannot learn. This is not a theory, it is basic neuroscience. When the amygdala is active, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for learning, decision-making, and behavior control, goes offline. You are not teaching your dog anything. You are shutting down the only part of their brain that could learn the lesson. What the dog does learn is this: you are unpredictable. You are sometimes dangerous. The world is not safe. That lesson does not live in the thinking brain. It lives in the survival brain, and it writes itself permanently. After the initial spike, something worse happens. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods the system. And unlike adrenaline, which burns off in minutes, cortisol lingers. It stays elevated for hours, sometimes days. In dogs who are corrected regularly, it never fully comes down. Chronic cortisol does measurable damage. It suppresses the immune system. It disrupts digestion. It shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and spatial learning. A dog living under chronic stress is not just unhappy. Their brain is physically changing shape. A 2020 study from the University of Porto compared dogs trained with punishment-based methods to dogs trained with reward-based methods. The dogs trained with punishment showed significantly higher cortisol levels, not just during training, but afterward, in their homes, at rest. The stress followed them everywhere. There is a psychological concept that applies directly to dogs trained with punishment. It is called learned helplessness. It was first described in the 1960s, and it changed how we understand suffering in both humans and animals. Learned helplessness happens when an animal is exposed to unpredictable, uncontrollable, aversive experiences repeatedly. Eventually, the animal stops trying to escape or change the outcome, not because they have accepted it, because they have learned that nothing they do matters. Some trainers see this and call it calm. They call it submission. They call it a dog who has finally learned. What they are actually seeing is a dog whose brain has given up on the idea that their behavior can change their circumstances. That is not training. That is psychological damage. When a dog growls, most people punish it. They see aggression. They see defiance. They correct it immediately with a firm no, a leash pop, or something worse. And the growling stops. It looks like it worked. But a growl is not aggression. It is communication. It is the dog's last polite warning before a bite. It is them saying, "I am scared. I am overwhelmed. Please give me space." When you punish the growl, you do not remove the fear. You remove the warning. The next time that dog feels the same fear, they skip the growl and go straight to the bite, without warning. Veterinary behaviorists call this removing the smoke alarm but leaving the fire. The behavior that concerned you is gone. The emotion driving it is exactly the same, or worse, because now the dog has learned that communicating distress is also punished. The research on positive reinforcement is not ambiguous. Across 17 studies reviewed in a major 2017 meta-analysis, dogs trained with reward-based methods showed lower stress, fewer problem behaviors, and were just as obedient, often more, than dogs trained with punishment. There is no evidence that punishment produces better results. There is strong evidence that it produces worse ones. Positive reinforcement works because it keeps the prefrontal cortex online. The dog can think. The dog can connect action to outcome. The dog can choose the right behavior, not because they fear the consequences of the wrong one, but because the right one has been reliably paired with something good. This does not mean you do nothing when your dog does something wrong. It means you manage the environment so the wrong thing is harder to do, and you reward the right thing so consistently that it becomes the default. You are not permissive, you are strategic. And the science says the strategic approach produces a calmer, more confident, better behaved dog with a brain that is not being damaged in the process. Every owner who punishes their dog is trying to solve a problem. That instinct is not wrong, the method is. And the reason it matters is not just because punishment is less effective, it is because it changes your dog's brain. It changes how they see you. It changes how they experience safety, and those changes do not reverse easily. The next time your dog does something wrong, and they will because they are dogs, try this. Say nothing. Remove whatever caused the problem. Wait. Then show them what you want instead and reward it. It will feel slower, it will feel less satisfying, but inside your dog's brain, everything will be different. If this changed how you think about training, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not to shame them, but because most people have never been shown the science, and the dogs cannot tell them. Subscribe for more on the psychology of dogs, what they actually think, what they actually feel, and what the research says we should be doing differently.